Justin just said it, and it's true. We actually get to talk about real things today, real proper football today. I am joined by Eric, Coach Dub, and we've got JW here with us today. This is guys, it's game time. It's time to actually do this. It's go time. Finally.
Yes.
Good. There you go. That's good. We don't have any children on this. They're not allowed to do it. Look, Eric's even outside. A lot of you thought for a very long time that Eric only lived inside, and he does. He goes outside sometimes. It's an amazing opportunity. So we're just going to go ahead and start this off. We've already got our super chat coming in here, and we're going to lead it off with Brett Nelson, get this thing going. If you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the super chat. We will be sure to answer them. Any comments? This is your time. We're here for you, trying to get this information out before the game starts. Brett is asking us, what's the over-under? 1.5 touchdowns for Arch. I mean, oh, man, the whole idea here, and this is what Sark said, is he wants to get everybody in the game. Presumably that's his all-star backup quarterback. We're going to throw this over to you, Coach. What do you think? You think he's going to get 1.5 at least? What's the over-under on that?
I'm going to go under on that, man.
You're going to go under?
Yeah, definitely. If he comes in the game, I think they're going to run the clock out. He's going to do a bunch of hand and off, so I'm going under with that one.
You reckon? So wait, hold on. You do not see Sark running the offense. You see, like, the second Arch comes in, it's handoff ball the entire time.
Yeah, they're just trying to get out of there. They'll probably be up by some points, and it's like, hey, let's get out of here. No injuries. Hand the ball off a couple times. Let's go. Nah, I don't. Yeah, I'm going under.
Just hold on, Justin. Where do you land on this? Yeah, I am of the belief that Sark's going to play some ball. I mean, or no? You don't think so?
No, I think Arch will throw a touchdown. I think Arch wants to throw a touchdown. I think Sark might call a run play, and Arch checks out of it to throw a touchdown. I just don't see him.
Right.
If you're blowing a team out when your backup's in, you're not going to continue to air it out. Jay Norvell, you don't want to leave him, so you don't want to leave him like that. So I could see Arch throwing a touchdown, absolutely. But more than that, that means you're passing in the fourth quarter of a big blowout, and that's usually not Sark's MO.
No, that's fair. So what you're saying is that Arch is going to go rogue. He's basically going to check down, just air it out.
I don't think we're going to see Arch in the fourth quarter. I think we're going to see Trey Owens in the fourth quarter. I think we'll see Arch in the third quarter for the most part. I wouldn't be surprised if Trey Owens got more snaps than Arch, to be honest with you.
All right. Okay.
Damn.
This is a I
will say I think a touchdown for Owens and a touchdown for Arch. So if you're trying to do a backup over-under, I might go over on that.
Okay.
But yeah, he's gonna play the whole bench, man. I mean, it's the only people that aren't gonna play, and even the players that are gonna redshirt this year are gonna play in this game. If they play in any games, it's gonna be in these non-conference games.
LC, Eric called it.
Yeah, no, I heard it.
Trey Owens is pushing Arch for backup snaps.
Oh, no.
I read it.
Eric called it.
It's the
That's
headline.
what we're going to see on Twitter, on our message board. That's going to pop up at Texags. I got your back, Yee.
It's all over the place. So, all right, going into this, we've got an opportunity now to actually, you know what, we're gonna toot our own horn here a second. Like, one of the things that gets talked about a lot in this particular space, the space that we're in, the Texas media space, is who's right and who's wrong. And I think one of the things that's really fun for us is when we're right. And I like that let's just go ahead and start. So we've got our depth chart coming up here, and I think this was an area where there was a lot of back and forth. I don't understand it, to be honest with you. I don't understand why this was such a contentious part for some of our colleagues in this business. But so what are the things that just stick out to you when you're looking at this, Justin? Like, obviously not major surprises here, but if there's anything on this list, what are some things that you're really noting?
Well, the first thing I can see is that the practice reports that Eric has been killing in the offseason are really good. Yeah. And the little bit that I like to add in every once in a while has been helping out a little bit. I love that we have literally damn near picked this thing. The second thing is, why are they trying to make you pronounce Quintavian Wisner? He's Trey. It's ice tray. It's
right.
It's a house. It's an ashtray. It's just Trey. I don't know why they want Craig Way to go the long version on that. So those are like the biggest takeaways.
Well, Craig's a cagey vet at this time, and sometimes you just got to throw some loops in there to keep him on his toes. There's a lot of this stuff he could probably do in his sleep. What are your thoughts on this, Coach?
Yeah, I'm with Justin on that. But hey, seeing these guys, make the reports each and every day about what's going on with the team and being like really accurate and on point. Like hats off. Well, I don't want to take hat off. I don't know. I want to show my ball spot, but Eric has been on the money and on point with this, man. With this depth chart, all of fall camp, man, and kind of see it coming to fruition here. Like spot on. I think that's why you subscribe to Inside Texas. Come get the best news, man.
Well, let's just let's slip over to the other side of this too, so we can kind of see the whole thing here, bring in the defensive side of it. And again, look, the big, if you watch the national media, one of the big concerns, which I think is fair enough, like you lose two amazing interior defensive tackles, there's going to be concern, right? I mean, fair enough. I mean, you lost those two guys, but the drop off, if we're looking at just absolute depth, and this is one of the things that I love that was brought up on game day, is the fact that Sark, the second he got on campus, has been recruiting for SEC. So he's bringing in those large humans, he's getting them ready, and he's doing a great job of understanding that, look, this all starts at the high school level. I think there were a lot of coaches out there. They saw the portal. There's a lot of shiny things out there. Dion comes to mind, that just really, they go after those things. And we understand Dion, like he's got to turn a program around pretty quick, but I got to commend Sark on really playing the long game with a lot of these players. And Eric, you've been on top of this from the beginning. We've been talking certainly over the spring game. We had a lot of defensive tackles on campus. Bill Norton was a good example of a guy that we brought in on the transfer portal. What do you think of this position going into it? What do you expect to see this season out of the interior defensive lineman? I mean, how much of a drop off do you see actually happening?
I don't think there's going to be a huge drop off in total quality of play. It's just going to look different. They're not going to play the run as effectively, but I think you might see more plays in the backfield from the starting two. They do lack athleticism behind them, at least as far as proven guys. Dre Bledsoe obviously has as much athleticism as anybody on the roster relative to size. But I think you're going to see plenty of playmaking. You might see more tackles for loss this year. They're not going to be as strong as at the point of attack, but that's where the value of Lole and Norton come in. I'm more curious to see, they've got it drawn out to three positions on the interior. I'm more curious to see how it plays out practically on our televisions today or on the field today, when they're just swapping the first two for the second two and the second two for the third two. Obviously it's going to be Norton and Lole behind them, but I want to see I guess Norton's probably going to be playing behind Broughton. I'm not sure that makes a ton of sense to me, but I'm curious to see how some of these designations play out across the board. I don't know if you want to talk more about these other positions, but we got real close on this. Didn't nail it perfectly. There's definitely a little room for improvement next year, but we'll give ourselves an A, but definitely not an A+.
Well, let's move back again. I think it's a fair point. The other side of this, moving away from the line of scrimmage, is those defensive backs. I'm going to throw this to you, Coach. There's two things I'd love for you to talk about. One is, I think a lot of times fans see the depth chart, they get really excited. This is a starter. This is who we've got. But especially in a game like this, we're going to see everybody. How important is the depth chart even? And what are some of the notable things on that secondary for you?
So for me, it just says that, hey, okay, these are the guys that are going to roll out there first. But the second thing that stands out to me is the versatility. I think you can do a lot of mixing and matching in this secondary, and this is a perfect game to kind of do so and kind of get your matchups. What do you want to nickel? What do you want to run and dime? Who you want out there, right? Let those guys get snaps and some experience out there playing together in a real game versus a scrimmage. So that's one thing that stands out to me, in that no matter who you put in, you can mix and match, and the secondary is not much drop off, man, especially at the safety level. It's just amazing the quality of depth that they have in the secondary. And so I think you see a lot of mixing and matching and just trying to put people in different packages and just kind of see them play together so they can kind of grow together, because you'll need them later in the season.
Anything stick out for you, Justin?
Let me
go ahead.
real quick so we can make this a little more conversational. So they've got a couple of nations here that I think are going to be curious to see if they actually play out that way. You can tell by them having Janae Barron and Gavin Holmes that would probably be towards the field, and Malik Muhammad and Cubby Black, they'd have towards the boundary. I'm not sure it's going to play out that way. I think they might play right and left, or we might see Barron in the boundary. And also at safety, Taft is probably better suited to the boundary, and Makuba better suited to the field. I'm curious if they're running a little gamesmanship ahead of Michigan. I'm curious to see how it all plays out on the field. I think those guys are either going to move around a lot, or I'm a little bit surprised by where they have them playing. Because again, I think you would want Makuba with his range more towards the field, and sort of Taft with his downhill alley ability as a tackler playing to the boundary. So I'm curious to see how that goes.
Is there? obviously in a game like this, it seems to me that the strategy is reps, right, Coach? I mean, is it, this is an opponent. It's a good opponent, not a great opponent, but a good opponent. It's going to give you an opportunity to challenge yourselves. Yeah. But the idea seems to me that we're trying to get as much reps as we can, and obviously not. Am I being really arrogant here in thinking that we can play this game without having to show all that much? What are your thoughts on that, Coach?
I mean, definitely. Like, you don't want to have to show too much and still play well, right? You should be able to play well in your base defense and say, hey, I'm able to stop these guys maybe 1 or 2 coverages and just kind of let people fly around and play football, right? So that's exactly what you want. You don't want to show your hand too much what Michigan may see next week, right? Or anybody throughout the season who's scouting you, right? Everybody's trying to scout those first couple of games, kind of see what you do well. And so if I can beat you in my base defense, 1 or 2 coverages, maybe 3, like that's exactly what you want in the game plan. And it's easier to grade guys on playing fast and making no mistakes, right? So that's really what you want at the end of the day. And in a first game like this, I think you'll get a chance to see that, though.
It works out well that they're playing an air raid team before Michigan because they're not going to show a damn thing that they'll be running against Michigan.
Yeah, that's a really fair point. Yeah, absolutely.
Entirely different offenses. You won't see the same coverages. We'll see different fronts next week than we'll see this week. So I think it's a little bit to Texas' advantages that they're playing an entirely different team.
Justin, is there obviously with this type of thing, and I want to switch a little bit, and again, throw your questions in the chat, guys. We're here for you. Yeah. This is our opportunity to talk ball with you guys. But what are some of the things we talked a little bit about this in the roundtable? But what are some of the things in this season that's got you really excited that you really want to see?
I feel like there's a buildup. I feel like we got a lot of it last year, but it didn't quench the thirst. Right. I think Texas fans kind of got a taste, and guys like us in the media that have been doing this for probably way too long at this point. There's an exciting buildup to it. And I think once we went to spring practice and we got to see the amount of depth and the amount of athleticism at each position, how edge has been transformed, how these freshmen, every single one of them almost should have been or all of them in the spring should have been in the dadgum prom in high school.
Right. Yeah. It's a fair point.
But there's a drive within this group. There's a singular focus with these kids that are skipping their senior year of high school, the last part, to go to a job, to go to their future career. And Sark has lined those people up class after class after class. And then watching him with the 2025 cycle in the last 8 days, like he gets it. So I'm excited about kind of all that. I'm excited to see who's going to step up from a leadership standpoint. You can have 8 or 9 guys that are program examples, that are bought in, that'll correct you in drills, that'll pick you up in the early morning weightlifting sessions. But you need one voice. You really, really need one voice or 2 at the most. And you're going to have to be one of the best players on the team. That's the only way you get that respect. Backups, it's rare. Rashawn Johnson was incredibly rare. You got to be one of the best players. I'm kind of eager to see how that pops up. And truth be known, I want to see what happens at wide receiver. There is nobody on this video right now or in this chat that knows how this wide receiver is going to shake out. I can't wait to see how it works, but I think Quinn is so in tune. I think Quinn is so sharpened. He's the 3rd year in this offense. He looks fantastic. He walked out on Bevo Boulevard looking like a villain from John Wick. Like, I'm excited for all of it, but those are my main points.
Coach, I don't know that I know anyone as excited to talk and watch ball as you. What has got you fired up about this?
Man, look, one of the biggest things I heard Sark say the other day or in his press conference, like, this is his team. He has, 1 or 2 guys left from the previous regime. Like, this is his team, the team he's built. I'm excited to see these guys play together and come together and just go ball out, man. I'm excited to see the secondary defense communicate. Like, that's big. I know we've done videos where, they get lined up and they're playing their defense, but nobody's talking. I'm looking forward to people pointing. I want the whole entire secondary and the linebackers to be hoarse after this game. I want to hear them communicating through the TV. You know what I mean? I want to hear people communicate.
Yeah.
Out. You got post switch, whatever it takes. I want to hear it all, man. So that's what I'm excited about. I just want to see how the level of maturity of the team kind of grows and plays together, right? To become this good team that we see on paper. That's what I'm excited about.
LC, that shows you he's a coach. Whenever
right,
you
exactly.
hear a guy talk about communicating on the field with players, that is 100% a coach.
Yeah, it's amazing. Oh, I want to take a quick second. We're flying through this, which is great. I love the energy today. Let's take a quick second and hear from one of our sponsors. We've got Luxe Luxury Remodeling. They are going to help us all with our kitchen and bath.
This video is brought to you by Luxe Kitchen and Bath. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook, and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring to life that dream vision of your special home. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team provides full remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today. Or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get a free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's LUXE. Or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Link in the description.
So that look, we just got a note from our producer. That's not I'm not a serial killer. It's not a serial killer read. That's a lot of copy, guys.
Okay, Dexter.
Hey,
all right.
Mr. Scarlett said it. You were sensual. That was very sensual. And
Yeah,
I gotta tell
You know, hey, look, if you're gonna
I thought about
remodel,
your twin.
Yeah, you should be rubbing your cheek up against a new water faucet.
Oh wow.
I gotta tell you, but it worked because I'm already online looking at Luxe stuff.
Are you fired up?
Luxe,
Oh, that's good to know.
worked.
I'm really happy to hear
I
that.
gotta get in on this sensuality.
Coach, you were talking a lot about the obviously the communication on this. I mean, this is the first time we're going to get to see Sark and Quinn on the headsets. We're going to see how that works with everything. In your experience, what does that mean? How is that going to work for the team? Slowly, Jesus.
Yo, I mean, I think it's going to be fun to see how they communicate. I know it cuts off at 15 seconds, but he'd be able to call a play, and if he sees something, he can always audible. And then Quinn, lets you know how well Quinn knows the offense too, right? Because he got to tell everybody else, hey, we're checking to this, we're doing that, right? So you get to see the communication between the coach and the quarterback, right? His right-hand man, he go out there and execute. So I can't wait to see that. And I also can't wait to see the communication on defense, right? Because you got to communicate to Anthony Hill, who has the green dot. I want to see him get line people up, man. Like, that's going to be fun, exciting to see the growth and maturity in him. But just overall, man, I think he said he's going to switch over to defense some and listen in. He won't mess with PK much. I just want to see how organized the entire staff is to the players. And
How much coaching goes on the headsets, so Coach? I mean, is he throwing in the play and being like, hey, I need you to watch this safety sneaking down? Is there any of that, or is it pretty straightforward?
I mean, no, you got people from the press box telling Sark, hey, this is how they're playing coverage, and safety's rolling down. Based on that, they're able to tell him, then he goes and say, I think we're going to call this. So he has a couple plays in his head where he looks down his call sheet and decides what he wants. You may see him in his signature squat down pose trying to call a play and figure out what he wants to do. But, it comes from the press box. They kind of second set of eyes for him. And then from there, he can kind of call a play, even though he has pretty much a good idea of what he wants to call because he's done so much film work through all season and the last 2 weeks preparing for game one. But that's really how the communication goes. Use a second pair of eyes, then you call the play based on the situation you got on your call sheet, and then let's execute it. Let's go.
We just this was just pointed in. We've got Cookie at the stadium, and this was we sometimes talk about the punter, and sometimes it gets easily dismissed. But this is when we've had phenomenal punters. I'm thinking about just completely, Dixon completely switching the field and using that as an offensive and a defensive weapon. Frankly, this was something that Ian was talking about over at the round table about watching how Michael kicks today. And, he may not have a lot of opportunities to do that, to be honest with you. So what we're seeing here in the pregame is a good sign. I do want to go to this because I think this is important.
Let me add something real quick, LC. I don't mean
Please
to interrupt.
do.
I want to add something real quick. That text actually came from one of our people inside the stadium. Joe Cook is doing the job right now in the press box, handling a lot of pregame stuff. That was from one of our guys. We have a big Rod of Disaster. He's on our website at InsideTexas.com. He's in the stadium right now. He has eyes and ears. He is Mr. Pregame. He watches everything in warmups meticulously, and he's the one that actually sent us that text message. Just wanted to check that. In case we can't confirm.
No, well, look, if you're going to come after us and say that maybe it was 6.8 seconds, fine. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, the difference in 6.5 and 7 is ooh and ah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So when we're going into this, we've got, and again, please go ahead and feel free to throw your questions in the chat. That's what we're here for. I'm just curious as we're waiting for questions to come in here a little bit. Like, do you guys have, how sober are you guys going to be at the end of this? I mean, is this going to be the type of situation? You're laughing now, Coach, but sometimes I stress eat. I might have 3 or 4 pizzas. I might have, I don't know. I just got this really nice bottle. There's no sponsors or anything, but this is a nice Reposado that may be half gone by the time I come out for the post game. So that should be an entertaining time. You got any brisket on right now, Eric?
I'll look a little different.
You look a little different. That's fair.
Yeah, dealing with the game thread. I mean, it's more the game thread than the game.
That's what stresses you out?
Just reading the bad takes.
Oh.
The emotional takes. Texas goes 3 and out on the first drive, which it shouldn't, but shooting themselves in their foot like a lot of teams do early in the season. And the season, not only is the game over, the season's over. All the practice reports were just made up BS. This team's never going to win a game. Typical internet guy in the middle of a game.
Yeah. So if we had to, we will talk about this obviously in the post game, but thank you. Is it a good tequila? I'm looking forward to it. Yes. Thank you for that, Jason. If you had to guess right now, we're going to put you on the spot. We'll start with you, Coach. Then we'll go to you, Justin, and then Eric. If you had to guess who's getting the game ball today? Before the game, haven't seen a snap. Who's getting the game ball?
I'm gonna share with the big ugly. The whole offensive line is going.
All right.
That's what I'm sharing. That's what I'm doing about game
like
ball.
An old lineman.
Yeah, hey man, I love the trench guys in the trenches. You got to give them some love. I think they're going to dominate. So that's what I'm going with.
Justin, I mean, obviously Charlie's taking the coward's way out. He's just giving it to all the big men. But is there? Do you want? And he's not only that; he's giving it to 5 guys.
He's probably right. That's
fair
the thing about Coach. He's smiling, but he knows he's probably right. I think the game ball is going to go to Silas Bolden. I think this guy's going to have a pretty good little breakout, and if he has a big play and uses those boosters in his legs, I think Silas Bolden's going to get that game ball.
Hey, we're on YouTube, and there's only one person to pick when you're on YouTube. It's the whole thing is a collection of Jonte Cook fans. So
that's a fair point.
I'll go with Cook. Can't believe we hadn't been asked about him yet. We were told a million times he would be on the first team, and what didn't happen. He's going to be good. I have been saying that I think there's a chance that a backup wide receiver could be the player of the game, just out of pure reps, targets. Justin just mentioned Bolden. I think there's a good chance that somebody on defense is the guy, because that quarterback tends to throw picks. Somebody in the middle of the field, a safety, maybe a linebacker. I'd love to see Anthony Hill pick off a ball or two. I think somebody on defense might get the game ball, just because the quarterback is a little bit he's a little bit careless with his decision making. So we'll see.
Do we think? I mean, is Blue going to lead in rush yards today? Is there any question on that? I mean, it's again, there's just a lot of. This is going to be. My suspicion is that Sark is going to run the ball heavily today.
Next week.
Sure.
I think Jaden Blue leads in rushing. I don't know about tonight.
I mean, it could just take one carry for Blue to get 95 yards.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to run him a lot. They've got 3 running backs. I would not run the ball a whole lot this year. This game, I would save that. Like I've said before, I think, Sark wants his run pass conflict to truly open up the offense. I think you save that for next week. Swing pass to the running backs. I'd use them that way. I wouldn't be running them a ton today. And if I did, I would be, definitely sharing the carries between all 3 of them. And hopefully 4th, Velton Gardner can just take a handoff. He's brand new, right? So he doesn't know the whole playbook yet. But I would not run it a lot until the 4th quarter. And then I'd just put in Velton Gardner to run it out.
Right.
With that depth chart, you want to make sure Blue, once you get where you're at a good point in the game, Jaden Blue doesn't necessarily need to be in the conversation anymore.
It's a fair point.
Protect that room a little bit.
True.
Well, that's it, right? It's all about protection. It's about getting out of this game injury free. That's a big one. So, obviously, the one of the stories that I think is really fascinating about this particular year is, and again, we now have 2 5-star wide receivers coming in for next year. I mean, that room is absolutely stacked. And then you've got a player like Trey Wingo that literally at almost any other school in the country, he's your starting wide receiver, probably one of your featured wide receivers. And this guy is going to be partially, maybe even struggling for snaps just because of the depth in that particular room. So where do we see in this game, just looking at this, or does Wingo this is from our friend, the Mexican Wolverine. Are we buying or selling Wingo getting a touchdown today?
That sounds like somebody that would cut you pretty good right there.
Yeah, that's my ad reads need to be real careful.
He would also help you. That's also a guy that would help you out in a bad situation in a bar.
Yeah, we want that guy. We want that guy on our side.
Spanish adamantium.
I would go. Today is a day where you throw it out. You'd expect him to, if he's going to score a touchdown, it'd be a game like today because he's probably going to get as many snaps as Bond. So yeah, I could definitely see it. And again, he's just another guy. It takes one touch. You could have one catch today that goes for 90 yards. He's such a big play athlete. It's hard to know how it's all going to play out. Here's the goal. They should score a lot of touchdowns, and they should keep Colorado State from scoring a lot of touchdowns. We don't know how it's all going to shake out. They're going to empty out the bench, creates a lot of variability in who can make plays and who cannot. I want to see them. I want to see them throw a ball around until the game's in hand, protect the wide receivers, pick off that quarterback, play a clean game. Too many penalties last year, especially on the offensive line against Rice. Too many misprotections on the offensive line last year. Play a clean game. Get out of there. I predicted 41-13. Hopefully it plays out something similar to that, and move on to next week.
One of the things I really enjoy about this particular trio that I get to work with here right now is you guys really do have your pulse on the high school game. And so I would love to just hear your thoughts. We've got, other than Simmons, obviously the highly touted end we've got coming in here, who do you think is going to have the biggest impact as a freshman this year on defense, specifically defense? Obviously we just alluded to Trey Wingo, Ryan. Thank you. Yes, Ryan Wingo.
Trey Wingo.
Guys, again, it's a very expensive tequila, and
Trey Wingo. Hopefully he's covering Rich Eisen.
Man, I got to tell you, I would. Trey Wingo would be great. I'd love to have him on the team.
He's a Baylor guy, so he wouldn't want to talk Texas because there's a lot of bad memories there.
That's a fair point. Who do we have on defense outside of
Kobe Black?
Give me a
dose of Kobe Black.
I'll go with it. So I'm going to have to count special teams because the team is so deep. You don't expect a lot of freshmen to make impact plays on defense. Right. That shouldn't even be the goal. You don't want that unless they're special. You didn't want to play Kelvin Banks as a true freshman out of need. You want to play him because he's that good. Right. So Jordan Johnson-Robel is one to watch as far as special teams and also the third team star. I guarantee you we're going to see him playing today on defense. And Ty Anthony Smith is another one. We've talked about him all August, talked about him a little bit before then in spring ball. Those are two on defense that come to mind. I'm trying to think if we're forgetting anybody else. Obviously, Ty Anthony was the only linebacker. Johnson-Robel is also a third team safety. We could see him play there as well today too. Cornerbacks.
Maybe Alex January.
Alex going on left.
Reps to the fourth.
Yep.
Yeah. January's problem is he's just got a bunch of grown men in front of him. You're just not going to see a lot of impact freshmen on defense this year, nor should you want to.
Yeah, true.
Is there any additions to that, Coach? I know that this is, you've been literally in the high school game here for a while. Is there anybody in particular you're really excited to see?
They kind of named all the guys that's in the too deep on the depth chart, right? Jordan Johnson-Robel would have been my pick because I think he's just so versatile and he's going to play special teams. He's a baller, man. So it would have been him and Kobe Black. So those are the two that I probably would have chose. They probably see more action than most in the other freshmen today. So especially on special teams, I think they'll make a very good impact early on.
Eric, this got mentioned, and this was on the board, and I invite everybody that has the opportunity to go ahead and go to InsideTexas.com. I mean, the guys have been absolutely killing it up to this point, but let's talk about that the running back room and how that actually might affect special teams, because we've been using our starters for that for a while now, and I'm just curious what your thoughts on that. I know you wrote about it a little bit.
They had the luxury of taking these running backs that provided this extra value on special teams. We saw it with Keelan Robinson. Trey Wisner made an impact last year. Trey Wisner was basically going to fill in for Keelan Robinson this year as that kind of Swiss Army knife. I'm thinking about switchblades. We got Mexican Wolverines in here thinking about switchblades over here.
Yeah.
You can't take the Cali from him.
Yeah. I always have a switchblade. Oh, man. Anybody have the switchblade comb when you were a kid?
Oh, hell yeah. That thing?
That thing was dope. Use one right now. You could probably still use one. Swiss Army knife, which I'm sure we all had one of those too. But now with the injuries, you can't really do that with Trey Wisner. You can't expose him to injury. We're not going to see him on special teams nearly as much. Now, I wouldn't rule out Jeff Banks calling a play to free him up a block like they did with Keelan a couple times last year. The probability of him getting injured on that play is so low. So maybe I'm not ruling that out entirely, but I don't think he's going to be, gunning down there. Who was the name? I was just given a name. Oh yeah, Ryan Niblett was mentioned as somebody to watch as far as making a name on special teams. And then of course we mentioned Ty-Anthony Smith, Jelani McDonald. I've advocated for Warren Roberson as a gunner just because he's kind of fast and fearless.
Kamikaze.
So, yeah, it's it sucks because I love what they were doing with those running backs, and you can turn that into a real thing, a real recruiting pitch. Like, we got this guy drafted because he's part running back, part menace on special teams. You can turn that into something that you recruit every single year. Unfortunately, because of injuries, I don't think we'll see that with Trey Wisner.
Is there any? I don't know. I know you've got this game on, Eric, but the Georgia, if we want to switch maybe just to now, let's talk about football a little bit more writ large. Yeah. Go ahead, Justin.
I was just going to say, Georgia, Clemson. I think it's time for Dabo Swinney to potentially look in the transfer portal. I think that would be a good idea. And Malachi Starks is going to play in the NFL for 12 years.
I think Dabo is going to go the way of Jimbo if he doesn't modernize. I'm in agreement. I didn't like the DJU take back in the day. I thought that was bad. Nothing against Klubnik. He was a really good high school quarterback. I didn't really see it with him as being an elite college quarterback.
No.
And so I think he's made some strategic. He's definitely recruited some good players. Definitely some Texas kids that UT wanted. Harris Sewell, Bryant Wesco last year.
Sewell starting.
Sewell 2 years ago. He's a good program builder, but he is stubborn, man.
I don't see him
start his own church.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't, and this may or may not be a hot take. I don't see Dabo coaching in 5 years. He's got the money. I think he's out of the game. I just don't. This is not his deal.
He'll be on the 700 club by then.
Is Pat Robertson still alive? Good on him.
I don't know, man. Sometimes I wake up at like 3:00 in the morning and that stuff's on. I could definitely see waking up to Dabo at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, you get in there and you get all those nice Flonase ads. It's great. You just run through the whole gambit there. What are we, when we're looking at, obviously we've got A&M's playing Notre Dame tonight. Tomorrow, kind of the marquee game in the sense that it's really only the big one is we've got LSU and SC. Of those two, I mean, is there anything, Coach, you're really excited about looking outside of Texas here for a little bit? We'll obviously get back to it. We're here for your questions, obviously, but what are you thinking in the league this year, Coach?
Honestly, man, like I want to watch both of those again. It's kind of the same, right? Because Texas is kind of fighting two schools for recruits. So I want to see how maybe good they perform or how bad they perform, right? It kind of tells you where kids may be looking. So let's see if Elko and that defense is up to par and they're really good, or he has a chance to turn the program around. And let's see what LSU does, right? They know they've been talking all season about their defense is going to be improved and what their offense is going to be like. Let's find out and see. I think it's going to be a shootout in Vegas, but nobody will be able to stop anybody. But I'm curious to see what A&M does with Notre Dame, just from a recruit standpoint, and what the recruits may be thinking after the game, right? Because I'm sure they've been selling. We're going to turn it around. We're going to do this. We're going to be great this year. Just watch and see, and then they lay an egg. It's like, yeah, okay. Let's see what the recruits are thinking afterwards.
Justin, is there anything surprising to you about A&M being a 3-point favorite over Notre Dame? I mean, it's not to me. I don't see Notre Dame winning this game.
3 points is generally the home thing, right?
Yeah.
That's like what you get when you're the home team. If it's like an even matchup, I think they give 2.5 points, maybe 3. You got to remember, Notre Dame lost a lot of skill guys over the last couple of years. Like Jaden Greathouse is one of their best athletes on offense right now. Jadarian Price, who I absolutely loved at Dennis and the tailback, he's one of their guys. Kedron Young, the freshman running back from Lufkin, he's one of their guys. And so I think Notre Dame is in one of those kind of transition type years. I think A&M's going to be, rip roaring and ready. That stadium is going to be insanely loud when they start singing their songs about the Texas Longhorns love. But I'm not surprised at all. I'd actually think it might be a little bit higher because I think Connor Wegman is going to be fantastic.
You think he's going to light it up today?
I don't know about today, but I think he's going to get better every week.
You picked Notre Dame, though, right?
Do what?
Justin, you picked Notre Dame, right?
I don't.
And that Q&A the other day.
Do we have receipts on this?
On the round, was it one of the roundtable questions?
No, we got asked in Q&A. Somebody asked who's going to win between Miami, Florida, that game, and Georgia Clemson. We both had Georgia.
Oh, man,
you
I
had
don't even
Miami
remember.
and Notre Dame. I had Florida and A&M. So I got a neighborhood bar just real close to me, and my neighborhood is filled with Aggies. I see more LSU flags here than even Texas flags. It drives me insane.
Okay.
So if Notre Dame gets up to a nice little lead, I'll definitely be sauntering over there, just asking everybody how they're doing. But I think Notre Dame's going to win. I mean, I think A&M's going to win. I am a bit of a believer in Wegman. Like them better than Klubnik coming out.
Yes.
Don't get it twisted. That kid wanted to go to Texas. He had a tweet out not too long ago, like he was at his dream school or something. That's no.
Eric, remember we had the quotes from him. Remember?
Oh yeah. Well, I remember his dad signed up to Inside Texas after Sark got hired. I know what this is all about. He wanted to try to see what Sark's big board was.
And he might be a Longhorn if it wasn't for Quinn Ewers.
Absolutely. Well,
I mean, Milroe might be a Longhorn if it weren't for Quinn Ewers. I mean, they missed on Ewers and had time to get Wegman. They went after Malik Murphy. So there was something that Sark didn't quite. Maybe it was the baseball component. I don't know. Sark, of all people playing baseball in college, shouldn't matter to him. But I think A&M is going to win today. I think it's going to be fairly close. Stuart Mandel, for the first time in 10 years, offered something of value to Twitter today, and it was A&M is 1-8 when game day is there. Which I was like, game day's been there 9 times. That's crazy. But 1-8, I don't really believe in those sorts of streaks, but it's worth watching. I do think A&M has a good chance. I think that Kyle Field thing is real at nighttime. You can't discount it. Everybody remembers them beating Alabama with Zach Calzada as the quarterback. A&M's their fans are going to be on fire. They're going to will that team to victory, I think. Well, there's will, but there's also exactly what you pointed out, and Rick is bringing this up in the chat. They're replacing a NFL caliber. I mean, probably, let's face it, that kid's probably going to pay 12 years of Pro Bowl football.
Joe Alt.
Yeah, Joe Alt. I mean, and then his replacement gets hurt in fall ball. So, having a starting freshman as a left tackle is not the best position to be in unless that kid's named Kelvin Banks. So I think that there's going to be a lot of challenges that Notre Dame is facing here in this one. And I agree with Eric as much as it begrudges me to say so. I think A&M does have an advantage with that.
I've got the Aggies tonight. I think A&M wins. And I've had to text, most of my family are A&M guys. Half of them are A&M grads. And I had to tell them, I said, man, I think A&M's going to get it today. Now, I also had to add the caveat that afterwards on social media, it's going to feel like a national championship. You're going to see more A&M hype, and then they'll stumble their feet against SF.
Remember, speaking of Clemson, they lost on the road to Clemson in a close game.
Yeah.
And the very next year, Texas beat USC at home. And I said, this is what it must have felt like to lose a close game to Clemson. Everybody thought Texas was going to lose to USC. I got like 1,000 and something likes, retweets and stuff because, they will have if they take their moral victories out seriously, they'll take a nice little solid win at home way too seriously. I'm not a huge believer in Freeman, man. I haven't been. I thought they had a bad process when they hired him over what's his name from Cincinnati. He's been okay. He hasn't been great. I think they're a 9-3 sort of team. And I think A&M's a 9-3 sort of team, and they've got the home field advantage.
Well, let's not forget. I mean, there was obviously, I think when you're bringing in Notre Dame, you're bringing in a brand, you're bringing in it's a great opportunity to sell your program to other people. You have these national brands coming in. I mean, it happened with Texas, right? Texas beats Notre Dame. We think Texas is back. Everybody's proclaiming this. And then both teams basically wet the bed the rest of the season. So it is, we can't discount the brand that Notre Dame brings in, and that cachet I think is really, really important.
LC, don't forget the 2 teams that travel better than any in college athletics, Texas and Notre Dame. A&M's hosting both this year. And I think that's strategic because they need that NIL money. They had a George Strait concert so that they could pay for the walk-ons. Now they got to try to collect some more. They got the two of the biggest brands in college football coming to College Station this year.
Well, and I want to talk about that NIL because let's look at what Vanderbilt is doing. But before we do that, I would love to give you another creepy ad read.
Hi, I want to tell you about Laura Baker. If you're looking for a new home in the 512 or even at this point, let's face it, 737 area code, there's only one number to call. That's Laura Baker at 512-784-0505. As a member of the elite Andy Allen team with Keller Williams, Laura has helped Longhorns find the home of their dreams in Central Texas. Just ask our resident sex symbol, Ian Boyd, who moved all the way from Michigan to Texas with Laura's help. Laura can help you find what you're looking for in the 512, the 737, or even parts of the 254 and the 210. Just, give her a call at 512-784-0505. Her email is in the description as well as the rest of her contact details. She's a friend. Give her a call.
So Vanderbilt is giving Virginia Tech a game here. And Rick brings up an interesting point. Now that we've got two dominant conferences, and now we've got an NIL era, now we've got a transfer portal era, do we start seeing the aggregate of talent going to those two conferences where it's kind of raising the level of everybody, including someone like Vanderbilt that is generally considered one of the lower in the conference? What are your thoughts on that, Coach?
Hey, I'll say this. Vanderbilt has more athletes than most people think. They got two safeties who are NFL guys back there in the secondary. They got SEC size. They got some SEC athletic ability, especially on the defensive side of football. Their starting receiver now plays for Georgia, so Georgia took their best receiver, but they have some guys over there most people don't know, right? Because they're in the SEC, they pretty much lose every year and have a losing record in the SEC, but they got more talent than most people think, especially on the offensive line, defensive line, and in the secondary. So as a person who faced them last year and seeing them last year move, like, man, I can see how they stay in the SEC and kind of compete. Like, they gave Georgia a tough game last year, right, for like 3 quarters. So they have some dudes. They just don't have an overall talent and depth that most teams do in the SEC, but they're better than most people think, and I think we're kind of seeing it on display now this morning.
And their quarterback is one of Paul Wadlington's favorites and one of the most competitive, tough-nosed guys in all of college athletics.
Well, Paul likes him because he punches people as a hobby. This kid punches other people, which is appealing to Wadlington for sure. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, it's they are coming at this maybe as a little bit of a sleeper in this, but at the same time, I think the question still holds is because we've now kind of filtered everything down to these two major leagues. Do we start to see maybe, the boats rising with all the money that's being thrown at this, or
college football has always been about who wants it the most, who wants it, who's the most, obsessed with winning. That's why Alabama has 11. They're absolutely crazy. They'll blur the lines when the lines are there. Needless to say, it's who wants to win the most. So NIL gives these schools a chance to really show who wants to win the most. Texas has been up and down at times. They're not going to blur the lines. Now NIL's allowed them to play above board, and obviously you've seen them become extremely competitive. There are people say they always had good players. They have not always had players like they're having right now.
Right.
What they really lacked before was development, which they're getting, but they still have not had players like now. It's about who wants to win. The SEC is going to attract schools that want to win. Vanderbilt's in there so they can raise the conference, grade point average.
Yeah.
But even they're in a place where Tennessee isn't rich in talent, but they can still go find some smart kids in the South and find some athletes. It's just easier. But that's why you're seeing Oregon wants to win, so of course they're naturally going to go to the Big Ten. USC typically wants to win. They kind of have the same problems that Texas has from time to time. Now you're going to see them in the Big Ten. The schools that want to win the most are going to attract to each other. And they're going to lift each other up and leave the other ones behind.
We got, and this is, I'm assuming we all caught at least sections of the Oklahoma game last night with the opportunity for, former Texas coach Stan Drayton to get some time against Oklahoma again. But we also saw Tennessee, and I think that Jamie's bringing up a really interesting point here. This is, again, both OU and Texas are joining the SEC this season. What are your thoughts? I mean, that it's been heavily publicized sometimes the Sooner fans are already using this as a crutch, but they legitimately have a pretty brutal schedule. What are our thoughts on OU going forward, just in a larger scale? And again, this is an opportunity for us to say some really stupid stuff that'll come back to bite us. But we'll throw this over to you first, Coach. Where do you see OU landing this year?
Oh, man, look, they can't fix the offensive line, which is kind of shoddy right now, man. It's going to be hard in the SEC to kind of win games consistently because everything starts in the trenches, especially in the SEC. So, Temple was able to get pressure throughout the night and get to Jackson Arnold. Can you imagine what Tennessee and the other teams are going to be able to do throughout the season, right? Didn't see much push for them in the run game. So if they can't run the ball and you can't protect, might even be in for a long season. I don't want to get into a record prediction because I don't want somebody on Twitter coming after me, man. Or
that's already going to happen. I was done.
Yeah,
once the question was
might
asked,
be somebody on this staff.
Yeah. But definitely, I don't know. I think we struggle. I can kind of see how to progress, right? Because it's like I said, it's game one. You're working out the kinks. So let's see how they do game two and kind of just moving forward before saying how they do throughout the season. But right now, it's like a tough climb uphill, man, especially with the offensive line. They may struggle a bit.
What about you, Justin? I mean, this is there's been OU is probably the primary, would you say, conflict that we have just in terms of recruiting. I mean, I don't, at least from my perspective, I don't generally see it being OU and A&M, even LSU as much. It seems to be that OU and Texas are in it for a lot of the same guys. What are your thoughts? Or am I way off on that?
No, you're not. No, you're not way off. Especially for the in-state, the top of the crop in-state guys. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of crossover recruitments there. I'll be honest, I wasn't able to check them out last night. I was at a high school game, Pleasant Grove in Atlanta. But I did get to see a couple. I did, yeah, something like that. I did get to see a couple clips. Taylor Tatum, my boy from Longview, I know he got on the board. I was fired up to see that, but. We've talked about this for a while. Oklahoma's offensive line this year is just going to be poor. Like, I understand why Michael Fasusi sees a path to the field. He might have to come in and play immediately Kelvin Banks style. And, most people aren't going to be able to do that. And so I love Ian Boyd's takes on Oklahoma the most because they're the most accurate. And over at Sooner Scoop, our On3 affiliate for Oklahoma, they are humongous fans of Ian Boyd. They love his work.
Yeah,
they treasure his opinions because they know they're well thought out and they're usually really accurate. And so at the end of the day, if I need help, I just call Ian. But I got to tell you, I didn't get to see much of it last night. I thought they'd give him more of a battle Temple would. I think OU just kind of pulled away at the end, out-athleted him. But Vanderbilt just tied Virginia Tech 27-all with 151 left.
I was at a game last night, and I was following a little bit of the thread on Inside Texas about OU's issues. When they signed Dominic Williams, I laughed. OU fans were puffing their chest about some huge win over Texas. I said, your ceiling before getting him was 8 wins, and your ceiling now is 8 wins. Not much changed, but now you're out $800,000 that could have gone on your future, a brighter future. In this recruiting class, money is finite in the NIL realm. Look at who they finished with. And they've got Texas and Auburn, of course, and Tennessee. They're at Ole Miss. Then they play Maine, which is a get-well game, right?
Yep.
Then they're at Missouri. Then they're at home. They get Alabama.
Yeah.
And then they're at Baton Rouge for LSU.
Yeah, it's an
so absolute... 8-4 would be 8-4 would be good. And
oh my gosh, celebrate that.
I'm a bit of a Venables apologist because I don't like Lincoln Riley, and I understand the storm that he walked into. There's the absolute mess. Program was gutted. I think he's actually done a pretty good job.
I do.
It's funny that we get called haters over on Inside Texas, which we kind of are. But I can respect the job he's done and the issues that he inherited. I think he's done well. But spending all that money on a transfer defensive tackle that's not going to get off blocks, only to go 8-4 again, I think is pretty funny. That finish is brutal, man. They're going to have to, if any sort of injuries, it's just going to make it even harder. Freshman quarterback, he's going to get a lot of lumps. He'll be better in the long run for it. But this should be the struggling season. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to set Texas straight in Dallas. They shouldn't have beat Texas last year, and they showed up, played a much better game. They wanted it more. Hats off to them. They could do it again this year. They're not going to have as good of a season like Texas. They're not going to have as good of a season like Texas this year either.
As we're edging closer and closer to game time, one of the questions that came in, and I want to I use my language. This
guy's funny. I'm sorry. Go back to the other one. He just wrote it in there. I like that. It's like when you show the $20 to the bartender, the gal behind it, but then you put in a 1 behind the tip jar.
Right? Yeah. What is the what will Texas's record be against OU, A&M, and Georgia? So they're coming out of that. They 3-0, 1-2, 2-1. Where do we see this? We'll start with you, Coach.
Oh man, that's tough.
Did I just put you on the spot? I did. But you know what? You're on camera.
Just because they got Georgia and OU back to back. I'll probably go 2-1 out of this thing. But I can see 3-0 as well. I mean, we might watch a Georgia game. they kind of struggle to score. And not taking anything away from Clemson because they got a good defense, but I feel like Texas will have a good defense too, but who can actually score, right? And so it kind of depends on the roller coaster of emotions playing OU, then having Georgia. At least Georgia's at home. So I say 2-1, but it could be 3-0.
Where do you land on this one, J-Dub?
Yeah, I picked them Texas to go 10-2 in the regular season. I think there's 2 losses there. I think it's Georgia. And then I think they go into College Station with the ability to go to the SEC championship game, and they're probably going to lose to that A&M game. I think there's just a lot of momentum there for the Aggies right now. But again, that could change 2 days after Thanksgiving. But I think they go 1-2. I think they go 1-2 against this group, and then they still play for the SEC championship, and they get into the college football playoff.
If they go 1-2 in that group, they're not playing for the SEC championship. I don't think. I got them at 2-1 in that group.
Okay.
I don't know who they're going to lose to. Don't really care. It's hard. It's impossible to know.
I think A&M's going to bite them. I don't know.
They're not going to make it to the SEC championship if they go 1-2 in that group.
Yeah, and let's just be really clear here.
Roaster's right.
Yeah, I mean, when you ask for objectivity, we're always haters. There's no 2 ways about it. You can't.
There's always a loss on a schedule that we're not talking about. There's always a loss that we're not anticipating. Kentucky scares me. It could be
Kentucky should scare you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but with A&M, I think that A&M, I think Texas gets OU, especially after last year. Texas couldn't have played worse in the second half, and they were still a better team. But Georgia's going to be tough too, because Georgia actually has a tough schedule.
Yes.
There's no sympathy there either. I just think, in that game in College Station is going to be so good, and so I'm just so ready for that game to come back. It's going to mean more. It might mean more to them than it would be to Texas for this particular season.
And this is just a little bit of forecasting, and I think the only reason I'm bringing this up because I think it demonstrates kind of where we are. I mean, we're returning. Four of our offensive line. We've only got one that's not a consistent starter there. So where do we see, who do we having playing guard in the second half against UM? This question, Rick, I mean, the specificity here is fantastic. So,
well, he must be expecting some issues. Obviously they've got the best defensive tackle tandem in the country. So he's expecting some issues for DJ Campbell. Or, I'm sorry, probably Hayden. No, he said right guard, so that would be Campbell.
Yep.
I'd be watching left guard more so than right guard with Hayden Connor.
Yeah.
You want strength at the point of attack. I don't know. That's
Cole. I think Cole would be the backup at left guard, and I think NATO would be the backup at right guard.
I think Cole's the third guard. Regardless.
He should be. I think he should be.
As we
we need this game to end.
We do, and we might be starting over at ESPN Plus, which has been noted in the chat here. If this Vandy game they can't get their act together.
You guys rooting for Vanderbilt brought this on us.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I'm going to blame Coach on that. He said they had really good players, and they're probably smart too, so they're just delaying everything.
Coach picked the quarterback to win the Heisman.
I did see that. I think it might have came on during one of the ad reads, but yeah, he had that kid. Both
probably the same time that I picked Notre Dame to beat A&M.
The Vanderbilt quarterback is scheduled to choke out an opponent and win the Heisman. I think both of those things are going to happen probably in one game. Get the kid in a figure 4 and go for the Heisman. That's the way it should work. Guys, we are coming very close to game time. We want to thank you for everything, spending your time with us. We're getting very excited. We will be back with you directly after the game. So as soon as those double zeros or those 4 zeros hit the scoreboard, come back to this very site. Check us out. We're going to be probably a little looser than we are right now. Maybe some of us. I can't speak to that. But please go ahead, check us out after the game. We've got a post game. We're going to wrap everything up. Hopefully, it will be a really fun little victory for everybody. But we really appreciate your time and being with us today. Hook'em, enjoy the game. Hopefully, this Vandy thing will sort itself out, and we will get everything fired up for you as quick as we can.